Oh, there we go.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm still not used to this deal because we always had the countdown thing.
I know. You say this every single time.
Well, this time it was dark, and I'm thinking, wow, they can't even see us.
It's dark every time.
Okay. It's been a week.
It's been a week. So, anyway, welcome to Family Jewels. If this is your first time, because we haven't introduced ourselves on an episode for quite a while, so we might as well do that at least once in a while.
So you want me to introduce you?
You can.
This is Colton Bartell.
This is Audie Bartell, my dad, and we're both graduate gemologists from GIA, and we like to just share a little bit of knowledge with you guys on gemstones and gemology and metals and all that kind of good stuff. So today we're going to talk about blue topaz, which we've talked about in the past, but it's been a long time since we've talked about this.
It's been long enough that we forgot.
We did. We had to go back and look and see if we'd actually talked about this or not. So, good morning, Myrtle. Thanks for joining us.
But that could have been a week. Isn't that bad? No, I kind of remember what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So maybe it could go back further than a week. I'm just trying to test the memory.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's been a year since we've talked about topaz, so
okay.
We figured we'd better cover it. I mean, we've got 52 weeks a year to talk about stuff. Usually you can cover pretty much the vast majority of the stones.
What we may have to do is buy some of the unusual stones.
Just to talk about them?
Yeah.
We're not going to sell them, but we're going to talk about them. So anyway, how it works with our show and how you can win, because I just did post that we do a giveaway on our show each week. And so for your chance to win a gemstone, all you have to do, literally all you have to do, is comment. If it's just saying hello or asking a question or a smiley face. I mean, whatever you want.
You know, in this we've got a little mirror up there. We're not even talking about gemstones, are we? Got a little mirror up there, so now the little teleprompter thing that we got is small. And now
teleprompter? We're not reading off the screen.
Just see whatever. Well, we can read off of there to see.
Oh, read the comments.
Now it's even worse because it's so bright right where that's at. I can't even see it at all.
Yeah, we have a new little light source thingy that clips on our camera. And so, yeah, it's
we look better, but...
We do look better, but...
I see worse.
You always got to trade. There's never a win-win with this. So Anyway, let's get on topic where we're talking about blue topaz. And like I said, we have talked about this in the past, but it has been a long time, long enough that we both forgot and had to go check. So we figured
Carla didn't forget.
We're gonna refresh.
Okay, refresh.
We'll refresh ourselves and we'll refresh you guys on.
Because if we forgot, they probably forgot. Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, we've got a few stones to show you. This is a pretty common one in the jewelry industry. A lot of people like blue. Kind of as far as our end goes, normally we see blue sell about 10 times more often than any other color when we're talking about colored stones, not compared to diamond.
Right. It'd be nice if we sold 10 times more blue diamonds than white diamonds.
Oh, right? Yeah, that would be, yeah. Anyway, it's a really common stone in the jewelry industry for a few reasons. One, people love the color. Two, it's really inexpensive. And three, you can get it in about any shape and size.
Yeah,
you can get it in a bunch of different shapes too.
Sizes, so
yeah. So they really work well for making
anything,
pretty much anything. Yeah.
The other thing is, topaz is fairly hard. It's 8 in hardness.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty tough. We don't have to do anything special as far as cleaning. Although repair work. Torch would probably not be good for topaz.
Torch would not be good for topaz.
But we hardly do any torch work anyway, so
no.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't affect us.
It's not that we don't do repair work; it's that we use a laser now instead of a torch.
We just do it differently.
Yeah, better.
Yes. That's another show.
Yeah, and we've done that one too.
So what we're going to do is we kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the sources for it, where this topaz is coming from. what's giving it its color, and kind of what to look for when you're shopping for it, I guess, is kind of the things that we really want to cover with this, because it is really common. So it's something that you're going to see in almost any jewelry store, pretty much anywhere you go.
Mm.
So
a lot of it's used in even fashion jewelry.
Mm-hmm. So it's something that, we kind of want to cover these big points, because when you go to shop for it, you really want to know what you're looking for, and kind of what to expect and what to ask for whenever you're making that purchase, I guess.
And maybe to some degree, a lot of times, like Carla says, buy what you like. On Blue Topaz, it's not just a single color of blue or a shade of blue, but the other thing is like whenever we say blue, automatically everybody thinks of like blue sapphire.
Yeah.
You pretty much are not going to see that color in Blue Topaz.
No.
It's always going to have a little bit.
You can, but it's rare to find that, and it actually looks a little funny. It almost looks fake when you see it in that color.
Well, the only time that I've seen it is when they do the...
Almost like the coating on it. Yeah.
So...
It does have a funny look.
Yeah.
It doesn't look natural.
And it pretty much is not.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
So, for the most part, they're going to be kind of like sky blue, aqua blue, and maybe even a little lighter, and then you can get into some of the darker shades, but it's going to have a little bit of green, I guess, would be in the blue.
And yeah, in most cases, you're going to have a little bit of a green modifier to it. We have some that's called glacier blue,
which is
definitely
not natural.
No, it's like super blue. It's like the color of this bowl. But yeah, it's pretty. It really is. But it just, like the moment you look at it, you're like, yeah, that ain't natural.
And that's maybe our point of view. I mean, if you guys look at it, it may be a different deal. But the thing is, like Colton was talking about, we need to talk about these main points. A lot of it on Blue Topaz is that color of blue that you like, that it comes in.
Yeah.
So it ranges from very slight blue, I mean it's like
almost colorless. Yeah.
To what's called London blue, which is almost a deep teal or deep turquoise color, I guess.
Yeah.
We've got some things here that we could kind of show them.
We've got, this is a good picture to kind of show the variety that we've got here. We get that really, really light blue that we've got down here up to this really deep blue. That's that almost glacier blue that we were talking about. It is a really pretty stone. It honestly is, but it does look a little bit fake.
And then the other thing Colton is going to bring up, I think, or whatever we're talking about, is why is that blue vary or whatever. And for the most part, natural blue colored topaz doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
It does, but there's
a little bit, and actually the state stone of Texas is blue topaz. And a lot of it,
true.
A lot of it is cut in what's called a Lone Star cut.
Yep. Which we don't have. We can get. We just don't have one.
Yeah, we've had some, but
it's been a while.
Yeah, and some of what we've had they need to work on that Lone Star cutting a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, and that occurs naturally, but it's a really light blue for the most part. And so it gets to that thing. How do they make them blue then if they don't come out of the ground blue? And so what they do is
they cook them.
Well, they bombard them and then they cook them.
Yeah.
So, and what we mean by bombarding them is
it's not that they have like planes flying over and dropping stuff on them.
It sounds like a line I would use. You're starting to transfer.
This is not good.
What they do is they do use a cyclotron to bombard them, and I think they use cyclotrons?
A cyclotron. It sounds like something you'd use in spin class or something. All right, everybody, hop on your cyclotrons.
Yeah.
We're going to get going. All right, we're going up a hill. We're going up a hill. Really push through it.
Well, and back in I'm going to say that was probably early 90s or whatever, blue topaz was really popular.
Yeah.
And there were only certain places in the United States that actually did this, made blue topaz or made topaz bluer.
Yeah.
And one of them was in Columbia, Missouri.
At the University of Missouri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Good morning, Brenda.
what happened is they had people from almost around the world. Okay, so
I'll let you talk.
around the world that was sending this topaz in, and it was in varying states. There was some of it was what they call preformed, some of it was, just crystals, and some of it was almost at that facet stage or whatever. And what they do is they bombard this stuff with that cyclotron. And the reason that we kind of found out about it is, some of these people were sending in just thousands of carats of this stuff, and they weren't paying for the treatment. So Columbia, the University of Missouri, was accumulating all of this blue topaz, and so it had gotten popular, and then it got to the point where the treatment was more expensive than what the guys could afford, or they already had so much anyways, they just left it there. So we actually went down, and it was almost like a bid type auction. You just bid on lots, and some of those lots were huge. We didn't get any bought, but it was kind of interesting just to see. I mean, we would see, where I was talking about thousands of carats. A lot of that stuff we looked at was in like pounds. I mean, there was like, I don't know, maybe 20, 30, 40 pounds of these stones that they were, basically auctioning off. I think that's been somewhat controlled, and the reason that it was only done in certain sites is just trying to think who that would be, the ones that kind of control the radioactive part in the United States. I don't know what part of the government that is. Anyways, these, like the University of Missouri, they had the cyclotron, so they were regulated by the radioactive bunch. And so they couldn't exceed certain standards of radiation and stuff like that. But after the stones are irradiated, they're going to be shades of blue depending on how well it takes, and then they can actually increase that color saturation by heating them. And I'm sure there's some kind of a recipe or some kind of plan on certain amount of heat for a certain amount of time to make whatever color that they want to make. But that to some degree kind of determines the cost of that blue topaz. But the other thing is, I mean, there was just tons of basically colorless topaz being mined, and they were basically turning this colorless topaz into blue topaz. And what's some degree nice about that is, just like Colton brought up earlier, you could get sizes, calibrated sizes, and a variety of shapes. A lot of times we may be in certain colored stones limited to say oval is a predominant shape of stone, or maybe emerald cuts. I'm kind of thinking like emeralds, and then like rubies, a lot of them are going to be in ovals, or a lot of colored stones are going to be in ovals anyway. But in blue topaz, they had so much material that and larger crystals, they could cut almost whatever they wanted to. And to some degree, just like This stone here is basically a fantasy cut, and it's a fairly large stone. I'm going to see if I'll do it this way. It's kind of a trillion, but it has some concave facets. I don't know if I'm too close or too far away, but really bright stone, really pretty blue, and this would probably be in what was called a Swiss blue. So, but then they also do, like we've got this one in a ring. This is, and the cutting a lot of times is done really well. This is an oval, similar color to what that fantasy trilliant was. And then, this is another oval that's a little lighter color. This would almost be that light aquamarine color. But blue topaz is really bright, like we was talking about. It's a fairly hard stone. It's fairly tough. And then it comes in a variety of shapes and sizes, and it's fairly inexpensive. So makes a great stone to use in jewelry. You can, you've got all sorts of possibilities, and fairly reasonable to make a piece of jewelry out of it. Now, the other thing is that we was going to talk about maybe was sources. I know that topaz is produced in Texas, not a huge amount, and a lot of that is they try to leave it in the natural color. A lot of that is not treated, and like I said, a lot of it is cut, or maybe not a lot, but predominantly there's a lot that's cut in what's called a Lone Star cut. So they end up with a star that you can see through the top of the stone. Brazil is going to produce a lot of topaz, and that's probably, Brazil's probably the major producer of topaz. You get into Colorado, I know that I'm sure they produce some colorless topaz, but there's, like I was watching the Weather Channel, which I thought that was weird. They'd have the miners in Colorado, and that one guy, comes up with some really large golden topaz or imperial topaz. So, and then the other thing is, I'd almost, if you're not a complete purist as far as birthstones, November's birthstone is topaz, but most people think of golden topaz, but I think you could kind of sway a little bit and use blue topaz as your birthstone. I know that, there's been some people that have tried to use blue topaz maybe even for December's birthstone, because you can actually get blue topaz that looks very similar to, in color wise anyways, as what blue zircon would. But this is another one that's in Colton's little lab book or whatever. There's a really nice emerald cut. That's a really pretty stone. Make a great centerpiece and a ring or a necklace or whatever. In fact, there's an emerald cut that's used in that gold and pearl and blue topaz necklace. So it's one of those things. We have a few pieces set up, and then we have a lot of loose, and it can vary. I mean, a lot of what we have is ovals, but we have trillions and some emerald cuts and rounds. And there's another basically Swiss blue. Get it away from that light. And this is a color that we tend to like. There's maybe even just a little deeper color than that Swiss blue is really pretty, but a lot of it kind of depends on what you like. It's not going to vary a whole lot between the Swiss blue to the London blue. Does a little bit. You get into the light blues where it's difficult to see that blue color. Those get fairly inexpensive, and colorless topaz is the least expensive of the topazes. So we just kind of wanted to tell you a little bit about this one. We're kind of introducing the topazes. And next week, what we'll do is we'll talk about some of the other colors of Topaz, a little rarer colors. So it's good to see you guys, or be in front of you guys. I don't know that we actually saw you, but you saw us. So again, this is Suzanne's Custom Jewelers, and I'm Audie Bartell, and I'm glad that you come to see us, and we'll figure out who that winner of the gemstone is. Thank you.